G-Fam, what's up? In today's video, I'll be going over the advanced loops when it comes to playing as Survivor. And there are quite a few loops and different variations. And it can be quite overwhelming to learn them all, but I'll go over the easier routes when it comes to looping the more advanced loops. And they consist of jungle gyms, either short wall or long wall, 4 lanes, C wall, or T lane, depending on how the variation is. You have the cow tree on Coldwind. You have the fun bus on Autohaven, and I'll also go over the jungle gyms, either short or long wall on Autohaven, because there are holes in the loops which make it easy to see the killer. Of course, you always want to be aware of where the killer is, but the hole in the loop helps out a lot. So we'll go over those advanced loops, and if you want perks to help you out when you're getting chased, 2 perks are Resilience and Spine Chill. Resilience gives you a 9% bonus when injured to repairing, sabotaging, healing, unhooking, vaulting, which comes in handy when you're getting chased, cleansing, opening exit gates, and unlocking while injured. Unlocking chest, that is. And Spine Chill is a 6% increase to all that when the killer is looking at you in a 36-meter range. And he's obviously going to look at you for the most part when you're vaulting. And we'll just hop into it and go over the different types of loops there are. And hopefully you learned something from this, so I appreciate you for watching, and let's get into it. Oh, and another thing, there are different variations of how you want to loop it. But like I said, we'll go over the easier loops. You may see some different routing when I'm looping. And of course, one thing you should know, you can always link tiles or loops. So you should always be aware of where pallets are. So always look around, see what you're working with. That's what I usually do for the most part when I'm starting. I'll call it out. You'll always hear me call out what I got to work with. So, like I said in the previous video, you never want to camp pallets. You know, if you got enough distance or you're injured, just move on to the next jungle gym or throw a pallet if you absolutely have to. But yeah, let's hop right into it. Okay, the first type of advanced loop I'll go over are jungle gyms, which consist of short wall or long wall. And this variation is a short wall because you have the window on a L-shaped wall, unlike long walls, which are just straight long walls with a window. And how you want to loop this is loop the pallet wall clockwise, so you can always get the window straight on. And you can even loop the pallet wall by itself because you always have the pallet to rely on. And right here, I throw this pallet, which in the real game I probably wouldn't, because I only try to throw pallets when I'm injured, and that is because someone that's injured might need that pallet for later. So being full health and throwing it's kind of a waste in my opinion. But other than that, if you're going to loop this counterclockwise, you want to angle yourself so you can get a fast vault. And if you come back around and play that window again, you just want to slow down and look back. Make sure the killer is still chasing from behind. I mean, it's pretty simple. The most convenient way is to loop it clockwise. And like I said, just be aware where the killer's at. Look for the red stain. And if you're kind of lost to where he's at, I would say a safe enough distance away, like at a corner from a window or a pallet. If he tries to like moonwalk or mind game, so you just know that being in like a corner is safe for you. But that's pretty much it with short walls. It's pretty simple. Just know how your killer plays, if he knows how likes to mind game and whatnot, because some killers do mind game the pallet and try to moonwalk all the way to it. So now we'll just move on to long walls. And this pallet wall is still the same as a short wall. The only difference is this wall. It's a long wall because you just have a straight long wall with the window, like I said before, as you can see. And you can still play the pallet wall by itself if you wanted to, or you can play the window. You can even play the long wall by itself. Now if you play the long wall by itself, you just have to know how the killer plays, because killers do tend to fake one way at the window, then fake the other, then vault it. If they do that, they're just wasting time. You can gain distance if you want to, but if you're gonna play the long wall, just make sure you take a wide enough turn to get the fast vault for the window. Other than that, that's pretty much it for the long walls. It's pretty much the same. Loop it clockwise. This right here is a C wall or a T lane. For the most part, you want to play the longer side of the wall, then go to the short side and play the short side for the most part, so you can throw the pallet. And we'll just move on to cow tree, because that's pretty much it for C walls. Cow trees, you always want to set yourself up so you can get a fast vault. So how I'm looping now, and always slow down to make sure the killer is chasing from behind. That's just a given. If you were to play it in the opposite direction, you would want to be a safe enough distance away to where you know you get a medium vault. And if you wanted to finish it off, you can loop the short side and rely on the pallet as usual. Okay, so another advanced loop would be this setup right here, which is a 4-lane. 1, 2, 3, and whatever the window's set up. So the window's set up over here on this side, which is usually the best variation you can get. Sometimes you can get the window inside the actual loop itself, which is kind of annoying. But how you want to loop this, you know, you want to usually come through here and take the window for the most part. And sometimes the inner lane can be like offset, so sometimes you won't get a straight window. You have to, you know, go out and in and try to get a fast vault. Other than that, though, you're usually playing this long wall with the pallet and the window for the most part, unless you're on that side. But usually you want to play the pallet. And you know, if you try some mind game, usually I would just like kind of look for his red stain, look for both sides. And if it comes from this way, you can just, you know, come through the pallet, go straight to the window, hop through the window, and basically the same thing, play both sides, see if it comes through the window, peek through the window. Then, you know, if you have a good enough distance away, you can loop around the long wall again, go to the pallet if you want, go to the window. All depends how the killer is, if you know he mind games or he holds forward the whole time. But of course it depends on the killer, but usually you want to play the pallet then work your way to the window. But if you're like coming from this way, you're gonna chase from behind, you're gonna take the window most likely. Well, definitely play the pallet, see how he plays it, then just take the long wall. Then obviously if you don't have enough time to make the window, you always have the pallet for the safe play and go right to the window again. And if you like, you know, if you vault, you obviously have time to make it to the pallet. So that's basically how the loop would work. Another advanced loop. Now, if there was a window on the inner lane, because sometimes, you know, it's the inner lane right here, has the window, then it has just a long wall. So you take the window and have no window here, just straight long wall. So you would take the window and, you know, you could, if you have enough distance between you and the killer, you can go all the way around, go back to the pallet, play the pallet, and play the window again, obviously. And usually you just want to always make sure you're looking for the red stain. That's about it. If you know he moonwalks, that's another thing I watch out for. That's why I like, you know, keeping a distance away to see if I can see the red stain or his body. Or you can also hear for movement or whatever sounds the killer makes. But other than that, that's how you loop a 4-lane for the most part. On this variation, it's pretty easy. And sometimes you might get a variation where the wall with the pallet is actually longer. Because if you play this pallet, it's actually kind of unsafe. If you just stand at the pallet and, you know, just to try to mind game to see which way is gonna swing. It's not that safe because if he mind games it, he's most likely gonna get hit off. But you can also come from the outer, if you have enough distance between you and the killer, you know, come from the outer window and get a fast vault. Other than that, that's how you loop a 4-lane. Now we'll move on to Fun Bus for Autohaven. And it doesn't always spawn in Autohaven, but if it does, for the most part, it usually does. We'll go over it. Now this right here, there's two variations. You got the better variation with the window, because you can play both sides of the bus. The other variation, the window would be on the back of the bus, and you can't play both sides. It's just a one-way vault. Now, when looping Fun Bus, you always want to angle yourself to get the fast vault. As you can see, that was a medium vault. But just make sure you angle yourself to get the fast vault at all times. And there's also two variations of the pallet. We got the variation with the pallet on the inside of the bus. The other variation will be on the outside with an open tile. So it's basically two loops in one. But once the window is blocked off, you can always play the pallet. This is kind of unsafe because you can't see the killer for the most part because of the side of the bus. Other than that, that was it for Fun Bus. This right here is another long wall, I believe. Yes, it's another long wall. I'm going over this because in Autohaven you can see the hole on the pallet side, on the pallet wall. And that's just another visual cue to help you out to know where the killer is at. It's a good thing because I've looked at killers between the hole, trying to mind game and just go back and forth. So just be aware of that on Autohaven. And that's pretty much it for Advanced Loops. Thanks for watching and have a blessed day.